Yo, what is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Bucket Discussions podcast, the channel, man. Yo, whatever you want to call it, it is the man J Coop back at it with another episode of J Coop's Clips. You know what I'm saying? We got to talk about what the Clippers have been up to recently since the last time I made another video. It was probably a couple of days ago. You know, talking about the Clippers, beating the Detroit Pistons and also Russell Westbrook reaching 25,000 career points. But the Clippers did just conclude a 7-game road trip. So we're going to talk a little bit about those 2 games on the back-to-back that they just finished off of. And I'm also later on in the video going to talk about some maybe concerns that I may have for this Los Angeles Clippers team later down the line. So without further ado, man, let's get straight into it. So the first game we're going to talk about was the first game on this back-to-back on Sunday against the Miami Heat. So the Clippers went up against the Miami Heat on Sunday around 5 p.m. And honestly, I'm not going to lie, this was definitely not a high-scoring game. There was a lot of defense involved, not a lot of, shot making and stuff like that. So I think the final score ended up being 105-98 in favor of your Los Angeles Clippers. But yeah, man, like I said, it was just a lot of defense played on both sides. I'm pretty sure the Heat, they went up pretty early to a pretty big lead. I'm pretty sure they had like a 13-point lead in the first quarter alone. And the Clippers were kind of just struggling. But like I said, it really was not a whole lot of offense this game. It was mainly defense played on both sides. It was pretty much a back and forth game the whole game. There wasn't either team was not getting off to that big of a lead. So yeah, man, I will say though, the Clippers weren't shooting, as good as they usually do in this game. They ended up shooting 42% from the field compared to Miami's 41.8% from the field. So it was a pretty, fair game from that standpoint. But I will say the Clippers blew them out the water when it comes to three-point making, which obviously the Miami Heat aren't really known for being a three-point shooting team. The Clippers shot 41% in this game compared to the Miami Heat's 26% from three this game. And yeah, man, it just, like I said, it was not a whole lot of pretty offense involved. There's a lot of defense sitting in that chair. You know what I'm saying? I will say James Harden's defense kind of did surprise me in this game. It kind of has went down, the past couple weeks. I just think James Harden has had a lot of minutes put on his body over the past couple weeks, so he's probably just getting really tired. You know what I'm saying? But he was getting blown by a couple of times. But for the most part, I will say James Harden does have some of the most underrated hands in the league. You know what I'm saying? He's always hitting loose balls. He's always hitting them out of someone's hand when they're driving into the basket. So I do have to give James Harden that. But if you ask me who the player of the was for the Los Angeles Clippers in this game, I'm definitely going Kawhi Leonard. He really didn't have that high scoring of a game that you would, expect, at least over the past couple of games, because Kawhi just had 34 last night against the Hawks. He's been averaging, I want to say, 29 points, almost 30 points a game over the past week and a half. So he's been doing his thing. But in this game, he ended up having 25 points, 11 rebounds on 8 of 6 shooting. He also had 4 assists to go along with this. He was 3 of 6 from 3. I will say Kawhi Leonard's 3 has just been just money this season. Like, I think he's shooting damn near like 50%. He's shooting probably like 47% from the 3-point this season. He's been so damn efficient. It's not even funny. But then again, you had James Harden throw in an extra 21 points, 8 rebounds, and 11 assists on 17 of 13 shooting, and also 5 of 9 from 3. He had like, I want to say 3 and 1 threes this game. You know what I'm saying? James Harden on that 3 is so deadly, man. You do not want to land anywhere underneath of him, or that will be a foul and maybe even a flagrant foul. I'm pretty sure that the refs had to, review one to see if it was a flagrant foul, and it ended up not being that. But still, James Harden knows how to draw that contact and also get the three-pointer to go down as well. You know what I'm saying? He did it a lot in the Hawks game too, which we're going to talk about here in a little bit. But yeah, man, James Harden did his thing. But Paul George, man, he has been kind of on a cold streak recently. I wouldn't say a cold streak, but he just hasn't been scoring to the capability that we know him to, and also the efficiency we know from Paul George. You know what I'm saying? He did have 15.7 rebounds and 4 assists in this game on 3 of 13 shooting. So that's kind of what I'm talking about. He has not been getting to his spots as usual. He was 3 of 10 from 3. So that's also something else you would like to see different from Paul George. It's just getting more to his spots. Stop settling for jumpers, three-pointers. It's just, I understand he can shoot them, and he's been terrific from 3, but man, sometimes when you're just not feeling it, I'd say for Paul George, if he doesn't get one of his, first 3 shots to go down from the outside, he needs to just try to take it in and try to get the ball in the basket that way. You know what I'm saying? So, but on the Miami Heat side of things, Jimmy Butler had a pretty subpar game for his standards. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people know Jimmy Butler to be a massive playoff performer, not really a regular season performer like that, but he did his thing this game, I guess. He wasn't that fantastic in this game, but it was all right. He had 21 points, 4 rebounds, and 3 assists on 8 of 19 shooting, and he also was 2 from 5 from 3. So that's honestly not too bad for Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler's really never been the most efficient 3-point shooter in his career, so that's like 40-something% right there. But yeah, man, Bam Adebayo, he was killing us on the boards, at least in the first half, I believe it was. I don't remember, but either way, he was killing us on the boards. He ended up finishing with 14 points, 13 rebounds, and also 3 assists on 5 of 13 shooting. And yeah, man, he was really just doing his thing. He wasn't, not gonna lie, he didn't look like all-star Bam Adebayo out there, but he was still playing a pretty big part in why the Miami Heat was still pretty close in that game. He also had 3 steals to go along with that stat line, which is pretty decent for Bam Adebayo. But Terry Rozier, the guy I kind of want to talk about, he had a decent amount of points. It was 17 points, but his efficiency wasn't that great. He was just missing a lot of the shots. Usually see Terry Rozier make, you know what I'm saying? Terry Rozier is a very tough shot maker, and that's usually what he does. But this game, he just wasn't feeling it. He had 17 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists on 7 of 17 shooting and 0 of 5 from 3. So that's kind of what I mean. He just wasn't, putting the ball in the basket as much as we know Terry Rozier to, which is okay. You know what I'm saying? You can't have every night where you're just on fire, but yeah, man. He was just kind of struggling this game. But I think Terry Rozier's finding his place pretty well there in Miami. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. But let's move on to this Hawks game. This Atlanta Hawks game was a complete 180 compared to that Miami Heat game, where there was a whole lot of defense being played on both sides on Sunday in that Miami Heat game. But in this game, it was a complete difference. Complete 180, man. No defense being played at all, but a whole lot of tough shot making and a whole lot of, shot creation being done on both sides of the floor in this game. You know what I'm saying? I do got to give props to the Hawks, man. At the halftime, man, at half, the Atlanta Hawks were shooting 53% from the field in this game, but the Clippers were just doing it just a little bit better, man. They were shooting 58% from the field, almost 60% in the first half of this game, which is just insane. The Clippers were also shooting 53% from the three-point line in this game compared to Atlanta Hawks, 50%. So like I said, no defense being played on either side, but there was, honestly, I will say there was a lot of hands up, at least in the second half that I realized. There was a lot of hands in the face, but shots were still going down. That's what I'm saying. Like, in the first half, it's like all these players got in a rhythm. It didn't even matter in the second half if you had a hand up or not, because they were going to drill that shit. DeAndre Hunter was so big for the Atlanta Hawks team. I forgot how many points he had, but I think he was like their second leading scorer. He hit a handful of threes, like 3 or 4 threes in this game alone. He has been coming off injury here and there, so he hasn't been as consistent, but this game should probably be real encouraging for Atlanta Hawks fans, I will say. But at the half, man, the Clippers only had 4 turnovers, which I was kind of surprised with because it kind of felt like more. I'm not sure why. I think it was just because the score was pretty much neck and neck this whole game, and I just thought that, the Clippers should, take advantage of their turnovers, which the Atlanta Hawks did have 7 turnovers at the half in this game. But yeah, man, I will say, to open up the second half, though, the Clippers, man, Terrence Mann ended up opening the half with a 3-pointer, and then also PG hit a 3 directly after that to open up the half. You know what I'm saying? To put the score 72-68 at that point. And yeah, man, it was just 2 back-to-back threes made by Terrence Mann and Paul George in the same spot on the right wing. So that was something you really like to see, them get into a little bit of an offensive flow. But at the end of the third quarter, it was 102-101. The Los Angeles Clippers were leading by 1 point. You know what I'm saying? But Daniel Tice, he ended up putting us up by 1 point at the end of the third just due to the buzzer beater 3 he had. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Daniel Tice for that, man. He really did his goddamn thing. You know what I'm saying? So shout out to Daniel Tice. But overall, man, the game stats for your Los Angeles Clippers, man, Kawhi Leonard ended up finishing the game with 36 points, 2 rebounds, 5 assists on 13 of 20 shooting and 5 of 8 from 3. So I will say you would obviously like Kawhi to, get a little bit more boards down there, but at the same time, you can't even really ask much more of Kawhi. He is the board man, so usually he does get them rebounds, but in this game, he was just doing it all for the Los Angeles Clippers. Like I said, he had 5 assists with 36 points on 3 of 8 shooting from 3. He was just so damn, like I said, man, Kawhi has been so damn efficient over the past, 31 games since December 1st. He's just been unbelievable, bro. It's been it's been amazing to watch. I'm not gonna lie, but also James Harden had probably one of his better games in a Clippers uniform. Man, he finished in the game with 30 points, 8 rebounds, 10 assists on 13 of 20 shooting, and also 5 of 8 from 3, just like Kawhi. So I will say, man, James Harden was probably my player of the game in this game, just due to the fact that he kind of hit the dagger in this game. I don't know if you guys saw that shot that he hit on Trae Young. There was an in-1 3-pointer on the right wing right there. He was trying to, foul bait him a little bit. It ended up working. He threw it up. Kind of a weird circus type shot. Ended up hitting the glass and going right in. You know what I'm saying? To put the Clippers up, I would believe at that point it was 142 to 131, something like that. You know what I'm saying? So it was basically the dagger, but the Hawks did going on a little bit of a scoring run to make it a little bit closer. So, yeah, man. But Paul George, he finished the game with 18 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on 6 of 10 shooting, and also 2 steals in this game. I will say Paul George's offensive game hasn't really looked the best recently, just due to his groin. He probably isn't getting the same amount of movement he would like to, but so I'll cut him a little bit of slack there. But I will say defensively, Paul George has been just A1, man. He really has been doing this thing the past couple of games, just switching, getting over screens, just fighting over, just doing everything that you would want Paul George to do, you know what I'm saying? But also, Russell Westbrook was very big in this game. Russell Westbrook ended up finishing the game with 13 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists on 6 of 10 shooting, with also 2 steals. So, man, Russell Westbrook, man, he's been so goddamn just electric for this Los Angeles Clippers game, especially on this road trip. You know what I'm saying? He's been very big just for when a guy like Paul George or James Harden really isn't performing to their best. You can just have Russell Westbrook come in and provide a lot of energy for this Los Angeles Clippers team, which they have needed, a lot over this 7-game road trip, man. A 7-game road trip that lasted 11 days, man, that is kind of telling, man. It takes a toll on your body. So to have someone like Russ come off the bench, man, that's just such a pleasure, man. It's just so nice having Russell Westbrook coming off the bench, man, and doing his thing. But like I said, the Clippers ended up winning this game 149 to 144. The Hawks did not make this easy by any means on the second night of a back-to-back for the Los Angeles Clippers. But, man, we still ended up pulling it out, which is what you love to see. But the overall game stats, man, the Los Angeles Clippers ended up shooting 58% from the field this game. Almost 60% from the field the whole entire game is just insane, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, the talent on this team is just, there's really not many other teams like this. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is probably the best team in Clippers franchise history. You know what I'm saying? But the Atlanta Hawks weren't too far behind them at 54% from the field. You know what I'm saying? But the Clippers were shooting 60% from the three-point line compared to the Atlanta Hawks 51% from the 3. You know what I'm saying? So that's something you love to see as well. But yeah, man, I will say I'm pretty pleased with the 7-game road trip that the Clippers, just went on over the past 11 days, the Grammy road trip. You know what I'm saying? They tied the best record in franchise history for the Grammy road trip at 6-1, 6 W's and 1 loss. So that's just something you really love to see from the Clippers, man. They look better than ever. They look more focused than ever. They just look like they're not letting anything get in their way at the moment, which is something you really love to see, man, because it's been a long time coming. But I will say the Clippers are right back at it at home tomorrow against the team that we have actually struggled with the past couple of years, I will say, the New Orleans Pelicans. So that's going to be a game to watch out for, you know what I'm saying? The Clippers, they ended up being, I want to say, 26-5 over the last 31 games since December 1st. So, yeah, man, I will say this has just been a crazy game, man. You really love to see it. But I will talk about something real quick that I am a little concerned with moving on later down the line during the season. So it isn't nothing crazy, but I will say my number one concern for this Los Angeles Clippers team, going later down the line into the season, especially the postseason, is just their health. Now, obviously, you can sit here and talk about Paul George's underwhelming performances in the playoffs in past years, or even James Harden's underwhelming performance in past years. But I will say, having those two at an ideal second to third option behind a Kawhi Leonard, I'm really not too worried about that. I think one of these guys can have a bad night and still the other guy, in James Harden or Paul George or vice versa, whatever the case may be. I feel like these guys can, pick up the slack for each other. That's really not what I'm worried about. But what I am worried about is the health of all three of these guys: Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and James Harden. As we know, Russell Westbrook is pretty reliable throughout his whole career when it comes to injuries. But I will say, man, James Harden and Paul George and Kawhi have obviously at least James Harden recently, but the other two for pretty much their whole career have been, kind of knocked down by injuries. You know what I'm saying? So And I will say the minute load for these guys have been pretty big. You know, James Harden just played, I want to say, 42 minutes against the Heat, and then he played like 35 minutes, something like that, against the Atlanta Hawks. So I'm kind of glad that the All-Star break is coming, just because these guys can get a little bit of a rest. But I will say that is my main concern as a Los Angeles Clippers fan, is just these guys, you know, not, you know, pushing themselves to the fullest, to the point where it's like they can potentially injure themselves. But we also want to find balance to the point where we're winning games, and also, you know, giving our players enough rest for when it does come time to the playoffs, man. These guys aren't just so goddamn tired to the point where it's like they go into the playoffs and they're compensating other parts of the body for, you know what I'm saying, trying to not get hurt or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So that's just something I will be a little bit concerned about as a Clippers fan moving forward, is just the health of these guys. But for the most part, it's been so far so good. So that's really all you can ask for as a Clippers fan, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, this pretty much does wrap up this episode of J Coops Clips, man. I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode of J Coops Clips, and if you did, make sure you hit it with a like if you find it useful, informational, in any type of way, man. We really do appreciate it over here. You already know we got more J Coops Clips coming soon, more podcasts, more content in general. So stay tuned for all that. But until next time, y'all, peace.
In the jungle like I'm Conan, count up with both hands. Switch the flow like it was broken. I'm on the road, man, making plays just like DeRozan. I shoot my shot, and that shit wetter than the ocean. I brag a lot, but with the wind and come the boasting. I made a lot from them apartments that I sold, and he didn't make it up to college. So them streets where he enrolled in. I know I'm a scholar from the moments that I was exposed in.